করোনা সংক্রমণের হাত থেকে ছাত্রছাত্রীদেরকে বাঁচানোর জন্য রাজ্য সরকার অনলাইন ক্লাস এবং লাইভ ক্লাস করার ব্যবস্থা নিয়েছেন বৈদ্যুতিক চ্যানেলের মাধ্যমে। বিগত 19শে এপ্রিল থেকে শিক্ষা দপ্তর অনলাইনে ক্লাসের ব্যবস্থা করেছেন। আমি আশা করি তাতে রাজ্যের ছাত্রছাত্রীরা লাভান্বিত হয়েছেন। আর দ্বিতীয় 6 জুন থেকে বৈদ্যুতিক চ্যানেলের মাধ্যমে লাইভ ক্লাসের ব্যবস্থা করা। আমি আশা করি এই ক্লাসগুলো সমস্ত ছাত্রছাত্রীরা অ্যাটেন্ড করবেন এবং তার সুফল রাজ্যের সমস্ত ছাত্রছাত্রীরা এবং তার পরিবারের সদস্যরাও পেতে সক্ষম। আজকের এই পরিস্থিতিতে কোনোভাবেই রাজ্য সরকার ঝুঁকি নিয়ে ক্লাস বা স্কুল খোলার ব্যাপারে সিদ্ধান্ত নিতে সক্ষম নয় যতদিন পর্যন্ত না করোনা সংক্রমণের ভ্যাকসিন না আসে বা সোশ্যাল ডিস্টেন্সিং মেনটেন করে ক্লাস চালানোর ব্যবস্থা না হয় ততদিন পর্যন্ত ক্লাসরুমে বসে ক্লাস করা সম্ভব নয়। তার জন্য শিক্ষা দপ্তর এই সিদ্ধান্তগুলো নিয়েছেন। আমি আশা করি বৈদ্যুতিক চ্যানেলের মাধ্যমে যে লাইভ ক্লাস তার লাভ সমস্ত ছাত্রছাত্রীরা পাবেন এবং নিজেকে সে মতো তৈরি করবেন।
করোনা সংক্রমণ রোধে রাজ্য সরকার বিদ্যালয়গুলিতে পঠন পাঠন বন্ধ রাখতে বাধ্য হয়েছে। এতে ছাত্রছাত্রীরা নিয়মিত শ্রেণী শিক্ষা অনুসরণ করতে অসমর্থ হচ্ছে। ফলে ছাত্রছাত্রীদের শিক্ষণ প্রক্রিয়ার সাথে সম্পৃক্ত রাখার লক্ষ্যে মাননীয় মুখ্যমন্ত্রীর অনুপ্রেরণায় ও মাননীয় শিক্ষামন্ত্রীর একান্ত আগ্রহে বিদ্যালয় শিক্ষা দপ্তর 19শে এপ্রিল থেকে বৈদ্যুতিন মাধ্যমগুলিতে এলিমেন্টারি এবং সেকেন্ডারি স্তরের ছাত্রছাত্রীদের জন্য অনলাইন ক্লাস শুরু করেছিল। পরবর্তী সময়ে ছাত্রছাত্রীদের অনলাইন ক্লাসের প্রতি আরও মনোযোগী করতে লাইভ ক্লাসও চালু করা হয়েছে, যাতে ছাত্রছাত্রীরা শিক্ষক শিক্ষিকাদের সঙ্গে সরাসরি কথা বলে তাদের কৌতূহল মিটিয়ে নিতে পারে। দপ্তর আশা করছে রাজ্যের ছাত্রছাত্রীরা এই লাইভ ক্লাস থেকে উপকৃত হবে। তাহলে ছাত্রছাত্রীরা নিশ্চয়ই তোমরা ক্লাসগুলিতে অংশগ্রহণ করবে। সকল অভিভাবক ও শিক্ষক শিক্ষিকাদের অনুরোধ করা হচ্ছে যে তারা যেন ছাত্রছাত্রীদের পূর্ব নির্ধারিত সূচি অনুযায়ী বৈদ্যুতিন মাধ্যমগুলিতে সরাসরি সম্প্রচারকৃত ক্লাসগুলি দেখে তার জন্য যথোপযুক্ত ব্যবস্থা গ্রহণ করেন। সবাই ঘরে থাকুন, সুস্থ থাকুন।
প্রিয় ছাত্রছাত্রী এবং অভিভাবকবৃন্দ, করোনার সংক্রমণের কারণে দীর্ঘদিন ধরে স্কুল বন্ধ রয়েছে, আমরা সবাই জানি। কিন্তু আমাদের ছাত্রছাত্রীরা যেন শিক্ষার সাথে যুক্ত থাকে সেজন্য শিক্ষা দপ্তর বিভিন্ন কর্মসূচি গ্রহণ করেছে। গত 19শে এপ্রিল থেকে আমরা 3 মে পর্যন্ত 15 দিন কন্টিনিউ 13টা প্রাইভেট চ্যানেলে আমরা রেকর্ডিং অনলাইন ক্লাস করিয়েছি এবং পরবর্তী সময় 6 জুন থেকে শুরু হয়েছে, 15 জুন পর্যন্ত শেষ হয়েছে। 10টা প্রাইভেট চ্যানেল তারা অনলাইন ক্লাস নেওয়া হয়েছে এবং লাইভ টেলিকাস্ট, শিক্ষক শিক্ষিকারা ডাইরেক্ট টেলিকাস্ট করছে। এখন আবার 22 জুন থেকে শুরু হতে যাচ্ছে, 1 মাস ব্যাপী 22 জুলাই পর্যন্ত আবার শুরু হবে অনলাইন ক্লাস, লাইভ টেলিকাস্ট। শিক্ষক শিক্ষিকারা এতে অংশগ্রহণ করবে। আমি প্রত্যেক ছাত্রছাত্রীদের অনুরোধ করব এই সময় যেন যাতে আমাদের শিক্ষক শিক্ষিকারা যা টেলিকাস্ট করছে সেটার সাথে যেন তারা ফলো করে, এটা আমি অনুরোধ করব। আর অভিভাবকদের অনুরোধ করব আপনারাও যেন আপনাদের সন্তানদের সঠিকভাবে যাতে লাইভ টেলিকাস্ট দেখতে পারে, অনলাইন ক্লাস দেখতে পারে, তার জন্য প্রয়োজনীয় ব্যবস্থা করবেন। পাশাপাশি কবে স্কুল খুলবে আমরা কিচ্ছু বলতে পারছি না, সেজন্য শিক্ষা দপ্তর আপ্রাণ চেষ্টা করবে যে যতদিন স্কুল না খুলে ততদিন পর্যন্ত অনলাইন ক্লাসগুলি চালিয়ে যাওয়ার জন্য। আশা করি এতে ছাত্রছাত্রীরা উপকৃত হবে। সবাইকে অনুরোধ করব এই বিষয়টা লক্ষ্য রাখার জন্য। ধন্যবাদ, নমস্কার।
Hello everyone. So I have come back again to complete the chapter that I was doing in my last class. I started doing in my last class. Can you please remember which chapter I was doing? Name of the chapter is Footprints Without Foot, right? So I hope you have remembered which chapter I am going to do complete today. So those who have not watched my class, okay, those who have not watched my class, previous class, let me do my recap for you all, okay. Let me start from the beginning again. Just a recap. I am not going to do any detailing, okay, just recap. So it's about, the story is about a scientist named Griffin, okay. Griffin is a brilliant scientist, but he is a very lawless person. He don't obey any rules and regulations, norms of the society, okay. So he discovered how to make, he has done experiment after experiment, then he discovered how to make human body transparent like a sheet of glass. Can you imagine? So what happened? What are the lawless activities that we have already completed? Okay, lawless activities done by Griffin that we have already completed in our previous class. Let me do the recap. Okay. So the first lawless activity where Griffin used to stay and used to live in landlord's house, what happened? That landlord had ejected him from his house. So in order to take revenge, this Griffin put fire on his house, and in order to come out to be so that he cannot be seen by others, what he had done? He had swallowed that drug, what he had made to make a human body transparent. He had swallowed, and one by one he started to open his clothes and made him invisible completely. Okay. Now after making him invisible, now he had choose the bad time to move around the London street being naked. Okay. Now why? Because in London it was a midwinter, okay, it was winter season. So in order to keep his body warm, in order to survive in this winter, he decided to slip into a big London store. Okay, what is a big London store? I have explained to you earlier. Big London store is a kind of a building where all the items you can find. You can find garments, you can find food court, you can find restaurant, you can find grocery items, anything you want. Okay. Such kind of a building is same kind of here. It is a London store. Okay, he went inside. So in order to keep him warm, what he had found, he took some clothes from there. What are those? I have already mentioned that day. Those were shoes, overcoat, and wide brimmed hat. Okay, shoes, overcoat, and wide brimmed hat. Then, in order to fill up his stomach, what he had taken? He had eaten cold meat and coffee. Then after this meal, he had taken sweets and wine. So where he will sleep now? Now you all question may arise in your mind, madam, as you are telling he is doing all these kinds of thing and from a big London store, where are the people? Why they are not catching hold, means arresting him or whatever? Why they are not catching him? because that time the big London store was closed. Okay, so that is the thing, he took out everything whatever he needed from there, in order he cannot pay, he will be not be paying expenses. Okay, so that is why he chose that time. Now after that what happened, he found out a quilt, he found out a quilt to sleep over there, and he slept over there. Everything would have been fine. Okay, but when next morning when he woke up, he had seen that already the helpers, the assistants of the big London store, they have already arrived. Okay, the assistants of the big London store, they had already arrived. Now he was seeing that they were approaching towards him. He was seeing that they were approaching towards him, and in order to save him from themselves, he started to run. So all the assistants, those who were approaching towards him, they also started to run after him. Okay, sorry. and in order to escape from them, he again started to open his clothes and all, and he made his body naked and invisible. This was his second lawless activity. First lawless activity, he put on fire the landlord's house. Okay, third lawless activity that we have studied was that he had got into a stock of theatrical company. Okay, he had got into the stock of theatrical company, where he is eager to find out something to cover up the portion above the shoulder level. Okay, as it was midwinter, so he wanted to find out some things that can cover up his above the shoulder level. So he went inside invisible, but while coming out he was visible. Okay, so what he found there, he found some bandages to cover up the forehead. Okay, above the shoulder level. He took some one dark glass. Okay, false nose, side whiskers. Okay, and I hope, and one thing was there, and a large hat. Okay, so he became visible again. So he has to come out from that shop. So where was that theatrical company, where was that shop or stock of theatrical company located? It was located in the Drury Lane. Okay, so in order to come out from that shop so that no one can see him, what he had done, he had callously attacked the shopkeeper from behind, and not only this, he had robbed him. The money that shopkeeper had, okay, he had earned, he robbed everything. Now he wanted to leave. He had done many crimes over there. Okay, he had done many crimes over there. So in order to escape from the police, okay, he had left London. Okay, he had left London. Then he had moved to Iping, and in Iping he settled in. He took 2 rooms. He booked 2 rooms in inn. Now what is inn? I have already explained. Inn is a suppose 2-story building or 3-story building. In the ground floor, it may be any restaurant, it may be any bar, it may be any coffee shop, and in the second floor, in the first floor or in the second floor, the owner may be living over there and having some kind of some small rooms, so that for a time being, if strangers or tourists or guests come, they can stay over there. Okay, this is known as inn. Now Mrs. Hall, the owner's wife, okay, the owner of the inn's wife, she was very satisfied with this eccentric scientist, okay, strange scientist, because she has already received, she had already received the advances. Okay, this our scientist, that is Griffin, had already paid her. So after few days or few moments, after few time afterwards, what happened? This man, scientist, he went in clergyman's house in order to rob him. Okay, so clergyman and his wife, okay, clergyman and his wife, they were able to hear some kind of a noise from his study room. They were upstairs, they were creeping very slowly, they were coming down very slowly so that they can catch hold of that thief or that robber. Okay, So that clergyman was having a poker in his hand. Poker, I have told already, poker is a metal rod, okay, with a wooden handle, in order to stir the fire of the fireplace at home. Okay. Now, what he had done, he acted like a policeman. He was creeping, he started to come down very slowly without making any noise. He flung open the door, okay, and he said surrender, okay, like a policeman. So we had completed this much in our previous class, okay. So whether he could get hold of that person, our scientist, whether this clergyman could get hold of the scientist, whether the clergyman gave this scientist to the police, okay, we have to know this. So let us begin. Then to his amazement, he realized that the room appeared to be empty, okay. Then to his surprise, that is then to his clergyman's surprise, he had found that the study room was empty, okay. And he and his wife looked under the desk, behind the curtains, and even up the chimney. They were looking under the desks, behind the curtains, and up at the chimney. So there was not a sign of anybody. Nobody was there. Okay. Yet the desk had been open and the housekeeping money was missing. Yet then also they have found nobody was there, but then also they found that their desk drawer, it was open and money was missing from there. Okay. A little later that morning, what happened? The landlord and his wife were up very early, okay, and were surprised to see the scientist's door wide open. So they woke up early that morning and they have found that the scientist's door was open, okay. So it was a good chance, it was an opportunity to investigate the scientist's room. Why he is such kind of an eccentric scientist? We have to know that, okay. The opportunity seemed too good to be missed. So it is a very good opportunity, they should not miss it. They peeped round the door, saw nobody and decided to investigate. The bedclothes were cold, showing that the scientist must have been up for some time, and stranger still, the clothes and bandages that he always wore were lying about the room. Now what does it mean? So they started to investigate. They first had touched the bedclothes. They have seen that it is very cold, because what does it mean? That means the scientist had woke up from the bed much more time ago, okay, much more time before. So that is why it is very cold, and his bandages, his clothes, everything was on his bed, okay. That means he made his body invisible. That is why the clergyman and his wife, they were unable to see him, okay. Now all of a sudden, now this is the most mysterious place of the story, this part, okay, page number 29. All of a sudden Mrs. Hall heard a sniff close to her ear. All of a sudden Mrs. Hall heard a sniff close to her ear. What does it mean? Her ear. She could, as if I am Mrs. Hall, I am investigating the room, and close to my ear I can hear that somebody is breathing, okay. Sniffing means he is breathing, okay, somebody is breathing. A moment later the hat from the bedpost leapt up and dashed itself into her face. From the bedpost, the hat, it by itself it got up and it dashed on her face, but nobody was there in the room, okay. Then the bedroom chair became alive, okay. Suppose the bedroom chair became alive, it got life, it had spirits on it, okay. As she and her husband turned away in terror, the extraordinary chair pushed them both out of the room, and then appeared to slam and lock the door after them. So what happened? When they turned around, they had suddenly seen that chair I could have shown you, but sorry, it will be very odd. So the chair হ্যাঁ মানে এই চেয়ারটা এভাবে উঠিয়ে রেখেছে আর দুটো মানে চারটে পা মনে হচ্ছে ওদের দিকে ধেয়ে যাচ্ছে, ঠিক আছে, ওদেরকে বের করে দিয়েছে ঘর থেকে আর দরজা বন্ধ করে দিয়েছে। ওকে, দেন মিসেস হল almost fell down the stairs in hysterics. Hysterics means very emotional, okay, very exaggerated reaction. She became very hyper, okay. So why she became very hysteric? She was convinced that the room was haunted by spirits and that the stranger had somehow caused these to enter into her furniture. So she started to believe this, that the room may have spirits in it, and the stranger, that is Griffin, had put the spirits inside this furniture. Okay. Now the poor mother, she is telling to herself or maybe to her husband, my poor mother used to sit in that chair. She moaned. To think it would rise up against me now. She is telling that my poor mother used to sit in that chair, and that chair is rising against me now. Okay. The feeling among the neighbors was that the trouble was caused by witchcraft. Okay. The neighbors are telling that this may be caused by any witchcraft, means kala jadoo hoyeche. Okay. But witchcraft or not, when news of the burglary at the clergyman's home became known, the strange scientist was strongly suspected of having had a hand in it. Now that robbery in burglary means it's kind of a robbery, okay, similar word is robbery. Robbery took place in clergyman's house. This news has spread over the whole town, okay, whole Iping. So the scientist was suspected to have hand in that robbery, okay. Suspicion grew even stronger. This suspicion or this suspect, it became very stronger when he suddenly produced some ready cash, though he had admitted not long before that he had no money. The suspicion became very stronger when Griffin had given the rest of the money to Mrs. Hall. Just a minute, or just yesterday he told to her that he had no money. Then from where the money came? Check came so quickly. Okay. The village constable was secretly sent for. Police was been called. Okay. Instead of waiting for the constable, Mrs. Hall went to the scientist, who had somehow mysteriously appeared from his empty bedroom. So she did not wait for the police to come. She by herself she went to the scientist Griffin and asked him, what happened? What you have done to my furniture and my room? I want to know what you have been doing to my chair upstairs. What you are doing upstairs with my chair? Okay. She demanded, she wanted to know. And I want to know how it is you came out of an empty room and how you entered a locked door. Okay. How you came, the room was empty when they came out, when the chair had thrown them out of the room. Okay. The room was empty. So she is asking how you came out from this empty room and how you have entered this empty room when we have not seen you. Now what was the reply of Griffin? The scientist was always quick tempered. He was very short tempered type of a person. Okay. Now he became furious. Now he became very angry and very dangerous. Okay. You do not understand who or what I am, he shouted. Very well, I will show you. You are not understanding, you are unable to understand who I am and what I am. Wait, I will, means akhon bojhabo, ঠিক আছে? So what he told, very well, I will show you. Suddenly he threw off bandages, whiskers, spectacles and even nose. So as he was invisible, he entered the room. Nobody had seen him. Okay. So he entered the room, he wore everything. Then he came out of the room. That is why they were asking, how do you come? How did you come in this empty room? From where? Okay. Now what he started to do? He started to open everything, his bandages, his whiskers, his false nose, his sunglasses, his black glasses, everything. It took him only a minute to do this. Within a minute, just within 1 minute, he had opened everything. Okay, the horrified people in the bar found themselves staring at a headless man. So, as I said, what is in may be a 2-story or 3-story building. In the ground floor, there may be a coffee shop, there may be a restaurant, there may be a bar. So, the IPing, this may be very important for MCQ question. Okay. So, in the bar, in the inn, okay, in the inn of this IPing where he stayed, where what had been there? It was bar in the ground floor. Okay. Then see, it took him only a minute to do this. The horrified people in the bar found themselves staring at a headless man. The people, they became very furious, means they became very frightened. What we are seeing? We are seeing a headless man, as he was invisible, right? They are telling we are seeing a headless man. Mr. Jaffers, underline it. What was the name of the constable? Mr. Jaffers. Okay, Mr. Jaffers, the constable. The constable now arrived and was quite surprised to find that he had to arrest a man without a head. Okay, the constable arrived and he was very surprised. He was very shocked to know and to see that he had to arrest a man who don't have head. Okay, but Jaffer was easily prevented from doing his duty. If a magistrate's warrant order is to arrest a person, then that person had to be arrested with or without head. His boss, the magistrate, had ordered him to arrest the person. So, he had to do his duty, whether the person had head or without head, he had to arrest him. Okay. Then there followed a remarkable scene. Underline this. What is that remarkable scene? There followed a remarkable scene as the policeman tried to get hold of a man who was becoming more and more invisible as he threw off one garment after another. Now, this constable, Mr. Jaffer, was trying hard to get hold of that man, that scientist, but he was making more invisible. Okay, his body, he was making his body more invisible. He was opening up his dresses now. Okay, finally a shot flew into the air. So, একটা মানে সেই বাতাসে শার্ট ঝুলছে, okay, and the constable found himself struggling with someone he could not see at all. Now, constable is trying to get hold of a person who is totally invisible. Okay, how can he get hold of a person? Where to touch and where to catch? He unable to know that. Okay, he don't know that, rather he does not know that, rather some people tried to help him. Now, people came to help that constable to get hold of Mr. Griffin, okay, but found themselves hit by blows that seemed to come from nowhere. So, what happened? It's like a cinema, okay, like a film, like invisible person is there, everybody is running after him to catch hold of him, okay, but they don't know from where they are getting blows, okay, এভাবে ব্লো করছে মানে মারছে কে যেন, তো বুঝতেই পারছে না কোথা থেকে আসছে সেই পাঞ্চগুলো। In the end, Jaffers was knocked unconscious, but as he made a last attempt to hold on to the unseen scientist. At last, Jaffer gave a hard ship. He has given his best to get hold of that scientist, and ultimately Griffin gave a tight punch maybe, and Mr. Jaffer got unconscious. Okay, he fainted. Then there were nervous, excited cries of hold him, everyone is excited and they are crying to catch hold of him. Okay, but this was easier said than done. মানে বলাটা সহজ, করাটা সহজ নয়, ঠিক আছে, সেটা বলতে খুব ইজি কিন্তু ধরতে যাওয়াটা খুব কঠিন। Griffin had shaken himself free and no one knew where to lay hands on him. Griffin had again escaped him. Griffin had freed himself and no one knew where to hold him. Okay, So this is the beautiful story of an invisible man. Name of the hero of this story is Griffin, the brilliant scientist, but he is a very lawless person. Okay. So if you have any question regarding the chapter, as we have already completed, if you have any question regarding the chapter, you can call and talk to me. Phone number may be given on the screen, you can see. Okay. So what are the important lines I have told you to underline? The vocabularies I have told you, I hope you have written. So it's a very beautiful poem. So how many lawless activities we have seen he had done? Number 1, that is he had put fire the landlord's house. Next, he had robbed without paying any money, okay, from the big London store. Then he had attacked the shopkeeper of the stock of theatrical company. Okay. Then he moved to Iping. In Iping, where he stayed in an inn, he stayed over there. Then he had robbed clergymen. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, he robbed clergymen. Then what happened? He tortured. He physically tortured. He mentally tortured Mr. Hall and Mrs. Hall. Okay, and this is also, you can tell that this is also a lawless activity. And at last he had fully made unconscious Mr. Jaffer. Okay, and ultimately he escaped himself and he made free himself from all of them. Again he became invisible. Okay, so our story is completed. I hope you have understood. So stay tuned, we will be meeting soon again on our next class. So as we have completed, I hope we will meet again with a new chapter, with a new prose or a new poetry. So till date, for today, bye bye, namaskar.
করোনা সংক্রমণের হাত থেকে ছাত্রছাত্রীদেরকে বাঁচানোর জন্য রাজ্য সরকার অনলাইন ক্লাস এবং লাইভ ক্লাস করার ব্যবস্থা নিয়েছেন বৈদ্যুতিক চ্যানেলের মাধ্যমে। বিগত 19শে এপ্রিল থেকে শিক্ষা দপ্তর অনলাইনে ক্লাসের ব্যবস্থা করেছেন। আমি আশা করি তাতে রাজ্যের ছাত্রছাত্রীরা লাভান্বিত হয়েছেন। আর দ্বিতীয় 6 জুন থেকে বৈদ্যুতিক চ্যানেলের মাধ্যমে লাইভ ক্লাসের ব্যবস্থা করা। আমি আশা করি এই ক্লাসগুলো সমস্ত ছাত্রছাত্রীরা অ্যাটেন্ড করবেন এবং তার সুফল রাজ্যের সমস্ত ছাত্রছাত্রীরা এবং তার পরিবারের সদস্যরাও পেতে সক্ষম। আজকের এই পরিস্থিতিতে কোনোভাবেই রাজ্য সরকার ঝুঁকি নিয়ে ক্লাস বা স্কুল খোলার ব্যাপারে সিদ্ধান্ত নিতে সক্ষম নয় যতদিন পর্যন্ত না করোনা সংক্রমণের ভ্যাকসিন না আসে বা সোশ্যাল ডিস্টেন্সিং মেনটেন করে ক্লাস চালানোর ব্যবস্থা না হয় ততদিন পর্যন্ত ক্লাসরুমে বসে ক্লাস করা সম্ভব নয়। তার জন্য শিক্ষা দপ্তর এই সিদ্ধান্তগুলো নিয়েছেন। আমি আশা করি বৈদ্যুতিক চ্যানেলের মাধ্যমে যে লাইভ ক্লাস তার লাভ সমস্ত ছাত্রছাত্রীরা পাবেন এবং নিজেকে সে মতো তৈরি করবেন।
করোনা সংক্রমণ রোধে রাজ্য সরকার বিদ্যালয়গুলিতে পঠন পাঠন বন্ধ রাখতে বাধ্য হয়েছে। এতে ছাত্রছাত্রীরা নিয়মিত শ্রেণী শিক্ষা অনুসরণ করতে অসমর্থ হচ্ছে। ফলে ছাত্রছাত্রীদের শিক্ষণ প্রক্রিয়ার সাথে সম্পৃক্ত রাখার লক্ষ্যে মাননীয় মুখ্যমন্ত্রীর অনুপ্রেরণায় ও মাননীয় শিক্ষামন্ত্রীর একান্ত আগ্রহে বিদ্যালয় শিক্ষা দপ্তর 19শে এপ্রিল থেকে বৈদ্যুতিন মাধ্যমগুলিতে এলিমেন্টারি এবং সেকেন্ডারি স্তরের ছাত্রছাত্রীদের জন্য অনলাইন ক্লাস শুরু করেছিল। পরবর্তী সময়ে ছাত্রছাত্রীদের অনলাইন ক্লাসের প্রতি আরও মনোযোগী করতে লাইভ ক্লাসও চালু করা হয়েছে, যাতে ছাত্রছাত্রীরা শিক্ষক শিক্ষিকাদের সঙ্গে সরাসরি কথা বলে তাদের কৌতূহল মিটিয়ে নিতে পারে। দপ্তর আশা করছে রাজ্যের ছাত্রছাত্রীরা এই লাইভ ক্লাস থেকে উপকৃত হবে। তাহলে ছাত্রছাত্রীরা নিশ্চয়ই তোমরা ক্লাসগুলিতে অংশগ্রহণ করবে। সকল অভিভাবক ও শিক্ষক শিক্ষিকাদের অনুরোধ করা হচ্ছে যে তারা যেন ছাত্রছাত্রীদের পূর্ব নির্ধারিত সূচি অনুযায়ী বৈদ্যুতিন মাধ্যমগুলিতে সরাসরি সম্প্রচারকৃত ক্লাসগুলি দেখে তার জন্য যথোপযুক্ত ব্যবস্থা গ্রহণ করেন। সবাই ঘরে থাকুন, সুস্থ থাকুন।
প্রিয় ছাত্রছাত্রী এবং অভিভাবকবৃন্দ, করোনার সংক্রমণের কারণে দীর্ঘদিন ধরে স্কুল বন্ধ রয়েছে, আমরা সবাই জানি। কিন্তু আমাদের ছাত্রছাত্রীরা যেন শিক্ষার সাথে যুক্ত থাকে সেজন্য শিক্ষা দপ্তর বিভিন্ন কর্মসূচি গ্রহণ করেছে। গত 19শে এপ্রিল থেকে আমরা 3 মে পর্যন্ত 15 দিন কন্টিনিউ 13টা প্রাইভেট চ্যানেলে আমরা রেকর্ডিং অনলাইন ক্লাস করিয়েছি এবং পরবর্তী সময় 6 জুন থেকে শুরু হয়েছে, 15 জুন পর্যন্ত শেষ হয়েছে। 10টা প্রাইভেট চ্যানেল তারা অনলাইন ক্লাস নেওয়া হয়েছে এবং লাইভ টেলিকাস্ট, শিক্ষক শিক্ষিকারা ডাইরেক্ট টেলিকাস্ট করছে। এখন আবার 22 জুন থেকে শুরু হতে যাচ্ছে, 1 মাস ব্যাপী 22 জুলাই পর্যন্ত আবার শুরু হবে অনলাইন ক্লাস, লাইভ টেলিকাস্ট। শিক্ষক শিক্ষিকারা এতে অংশগ্রহণ করবে। আমি প্রত্যেক ছাত্রছাত্রীদের অনুরোধ করব এই সময় যেন যাতে আমাদের শিক্ষক শিক্ষিকারা যা টেলিকাস্ট করছে সেটার সাথে যেন তারা ফলো করে, এটা আমি অনুরোধ করব। আর অভিভাবকদের অনুরোধ করব আপনারাও যেন আপনাদের সন্তানদের সঠিকভাবে যাতে লাইভ টেলিকাস্ট দেখতে পারে, অনলাইন ক্লাস দেখতে পারে, তার জন্য প্রয়োজনীয় ব্যবস্থা করবেন। পাশাপাশি কবে স্কুল খুলবে আমরা কিচ্ছু বলতে পারছি না, সেজন্য শিক্ষা দপ্তর আপ্রাণ চেষ্টা করবে যে যতদিন স্কুল না খুলে ততদিন পর্যন্ত অনলাইন ক্লাসগুলি চালিয়ে যাওয়ার জন্য। আশা করি এতে ছাত্রছাত্রীরা উপকৃত হবে। সবাইকে অনুরোধ করব এই বিষয়টা লক্ষ্য রাখার জন্য। ধন্যবাদ, নমস্কার।